This conference will
Welcome
now
to
be
the town
recorded.
of Ocean Ridge. What? Oh, I'm not speaking loud enough? Good evening, everybody, and thank you for coming to the September meeting in the town of Ocean Ridge. Kelly, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Bessler,
Here.
Vice Mayor Cos,
Here.
Mayor Pugh,
Here.
and Commissioners Khalil and Cassidy are absent with notice.
Carolyn wanted to listen in and communicate, which I can do through this phone. Because right now we can't do two-way.
We've tried, but
You want to try it without the
Who
phone?
it is that's on there.
yeah, if she logs in, she just needs to text in the chat to Kelly or put her name in so Kelly knows who to unmute.
So bear with me 1 minute before you do pledge. Because what I'll do is I'll just give her that information. Text if you are on the call. Call.
Every time I do that, it says something different.
Yeah.
All right, so stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. All right, any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda?
Just on the consent agenda, number 3, we're looking at the July financials, not the August ones.
Okay.
And under the presentations and proclamations, Chief McClure has a presentation to make.
Yes. All right.
I would also like
The
to make.
Police Life Saving Award, yeah.
I would also like to make a statement, perhaps early in the meeting. I don't know quite where we'd go.
Let's do it right.
Presentations, proclamations?
Yeah, we'll do number 3. It'll be number 3.
Okay.
Statement.
And Mr. Mayor, because of ongoing changes to ordinances that are items 7 and 8 on the regular items, I would ask that those ordinances both be postponed to the September 18th meeting.
What, do you want to do that in October? Maybe October meeting, the
We'll
regular
do the
meeting?
October meeting?
Yeah, the regular meeting,
Okay.
3 will be here.
Okay.
Is that okay?
That works for me. October 1st.
You need a motion?
Is that it for the additions or deletions? All right, make motion.
Motion to accept with additions and deletions.
I'll second it.
All right. There's a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, 2 announcements. Do you want me to do it or do you want to do it?
I can do it.
Okay.
I'd like to welcome our FACC Southeast District Director Renee Basil to give a presentation.
Is that already on, right? Mayor Pugh, Vice Mayor Cos, members of the commission, town staff, and attendees, good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. My name is Renee Basil, and I am, as Kelly said, the Florida Association of City Clerks Southeast District Director. I also serve as president of the Palm Beach County Municipal Clerks Association for 1 more month when Kelly takes over the reins, and I am currently the town clerk for the town of Gulfstream. And my town manager, Greg Dunham, said to give his regards to everyone tonight. It is with great pleasure that I appear here this evening to congratulate your town on the recent accomplishment of your Deputy City Clerk, Katrina Pender, upon receiving her Certified Municipal Clerk designation. The International Institute of Municipal Clerks and its partner, the Florida Association of City Clerks, are professional associations that promote continuing education and certification through university and college-based institutes. IAMC's primary goal is to actively promote the continuing education and professional development of municipal clerks through extensive education programs, certification, publications, networking across the globe, annual conferences, and research. FACC's primary goal is to actively promote the continuing education and professional development of municipal clerks in the state of Florida by partnering with the Florida League of Cities and the Florida Institute of Government to meet the ever-changing educational needs of city and town clerks and deputy clerks, and to improve their knowledge in areas such as public administration, law, management, elections, and many other disciplines. Currently, only 32% of the 14,755 members of the International Institute of Municipal Clerks have attained the CMC, or Certified Municipal Clerk designation. And of the 657 members of the Florida Association of City Clerks, only 34% have reached the certified municipal clerk achievement. To achieve the certified municipal clerk designation, Katrina has gone through and completed the International Institute of Municipal Clerks approved program conducted by the Scott Daly Florida Institute of Government, which is part of the Florida State University in Tallahassee, which I'm supposed to say go Noles at this point in time. This program provides 120 student instructor contact hours of in-depth courses in managerial and leadership skills, social and interpersonal concerns, and technical training needed to deal with changes taking place in government today. The program aids municipal clerks in improving job performance and recognizes the professionalism of the municipal clerk's office. Completion of a recognized career development academy or a baccalaureate degree in public administration or related field, responsible experience in local government, and participation in conferences, meetings, and educational seminars are required to earn the prestigious certified municipal clerk designation. But this is only the first step. A true professional never wants to rest on their success, but instead keep reaching higher. The Master Municipal Clerk Academy was established to further professional education of city clerks and to meet the challenges of the office. Academy members must demonstrate they have actively engaged in educational and professional participation that keeps them current with the changing events in the local government scene. Academy members seeking to earn the Master Municipal Clerk designation are required to attain 168 hours in advanced education with 80% coursework in public admin and 20% in electives. This is quite a task considering the daily demands of the clerk's office. But I have no doubt Katrina is up to the task. Your deputy clerk is now part of an elite group of professionals in local government, a group she could not have become part of without your commitment to support her efforts. On behalf of the Florida Association of City Clerks, President, Board, and Directors, and its members of the Florida Association of City Clerks Professional Education Committee, and the Southeast District, we are all very proud of you. Please join me in congratulating your Deputy Town Clerk, Katrina Pender, and the Town of Ocean Ridge on her impressive accomplishment as one of our newest certified municipal clerks.
Display it proudly.
Can we get pictures?
You got it.
Right there, you ready?
Oh, you got it? All right.
Congratulations, Ms. Pender.
We'd like to post it on the Florida Association with the mayor.
Oh, yeah, sure. There's only 3 of us.
Y'all
So
don't mind?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You're the vice president.
Yeah.
Yep.
What do you
So
want?
you
to say?
stand
Oh, here's the medal, here's the medal. I'll sit over there by the mayor.
When's the music?
Congrats. I'm very happy for
I
you.
appreciate it.
We hope you're here a long time.
Yeah.
Too many degrees.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, Chief. Looks like you're up.
We issued 2 life-saving awards last month, in the month of August. Officer Archer, who's in the back, and Officer Pylon, didn't stand up, Hayden, and Officer Pylon, who's not here. On August 16th of last month, Officer Pylon, along with Officer Archer, responded to a residence in town where the patient was not breathing and had no pulse. Officer Pylon coordinated life-saving measures to include the deployment of Narcan, the administration of oxygen, and ensured that the patient received high-quality cardiopulmonary resuscitation and CPR. Officer Pylon also applied the AED, which is the automated external defibrillator, to the patient. Officer Archer deployed oxygen, a second dose of Narcan, and began CPR to provide the patient rescue breaths. Despite the overwhelming condition of the patient, Officer Pylon nor Officer Hayden were deterred. They both performed their duties selflessly, without hesitation, and because of their knowledge, expert training, and ability and efforts, both officers were able to provide the patient top-notch emergency medical care, which resulted in the patient surviving the medical emergency. Job well done.
Well done. Thank you, Chief. All right, we have a statement from Vice Mayor Cox.
Yeah, calling it a statement because I don't know what else to call it. I had not read the Coastal Star until today. And I had residents coming up to me about this whole water pipe thing and where the valves are. How can you not know where the valves are? How can you not know where the pipes are? Well, and I don't, is your reporter here, Jerry?
I'm sorry?
Is your reporter here?
I'll see Larry
He's
anyway.
out of town, but
He's
I'm
not,
here.
you're here. So, what I did, which I assume the reporter had done but hadn't, was I called our town engineer. Now, the town engineer has a map of every single water pipe in town with every single location of every single valve, location of every single joint. Now, in 9/11/2001, Homeland Security put out a blanket silence on sharing those maps widely because they were worried about terrorist attacks to the water supply. So rest assured that the town knows where every valve and every water pipe in town is. It was mapped years ago. The map is still accurate. What might not be accurate, let's say maybe 2-3%, might be a little lower in the ground because that's what happens, or they might be a foot or two away from where the GIS system, they call it, I believe, says they are. So we're not in some kind of crisis here where the town doesn't know where the water lines are. And I would hope next time Larry gives a call to the town engineer or an email or something asking the specific question. She's been with us since 2000,
Oh, way longer than that.
longer than 2000. So the engineering firm we have is an excellent engineering firm and does have this information. Thank you.
Well, thank you for separating the fiction from the facts. Appreciate that. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on to the announcements. You want to do them? All right. You sure?
I'm sure.
Okay.
The meeting schedule for the next month is as follows. Regular town commission meeting on Monday, October 1st at 6 p.m. Special town commission meeting for the final budget hearing on September 18th at 6 p.m. Planning and zoning meeting on Tuesday, September 19th at 9 a.m. And the board adjustment meeting has just been canceled. All meetings are held in the commission chambers at the town hall. Town hall will be closed on Monday, October 9th in observance of Columbus Day. The annual municipal election will be held on March 19th, 2024. There are 3 town commission seats open. Candidate filing dates will run from November 6th, 2023 at noon through November 17th, 2023 at noon in the town clerk's office. And as always, residents who wish to sign up to receive important town notifications and news through Civic Ready should sign up on the town's website or call town hall for assistance.
Thank you, Kelly. All right, now we'll open up to public comment. Free 3 minutes to say whatever you'd like to say. Betty, coming up.
I have a suggestion. I don't know how many of you all have been out on a holiday or Sunday and watched 60 bicycles blatantly run through the red lights. What I'd like to see is put a couple of policemen out there to try and get them to stop with someone down the road to drive a car right straight across the road to stop them. Fine them each $100 for moving violation. And that would be a lot of money to pay bonuses at Christmas time.
Thank you, Betty. Thursday morning's pretty bad too. Thursday morning is really bad.
By the way,
Is it?
Carol is calling in.
Isn't it one
Yes.
single file now? It used to be 2, now it's only 1.
One.
It's only 1.
They can pass.
They can pass, but they have to ride single file.
No, they go 4 abreast.
I know.
Yes, and put
Anyone
your
else
name
public
next
comment?
to your call, so Kelly will then plug you in both ways. All right, yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Betty. It's
So-
a problem.
She's gonna plug in within the next several seconds.
All right. All right, public comments closed. Can we move?
We've got some,
Oh, I didn't see. I thought you were going to get enough, get some water or something. Sorry.
It took me a while. Debbie Cook, 28 Tropical Drive. I know the speech sign is on the agenda tonight to be signed, and I just want to, hopefully, no hiccups, but I want to thank everybody that voiced and put all the hours, and I know it was a heck of a lot of work for you, and I think you guys did a great job.
Thank
So
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Jean Hallahan, Town Treasurer, Human Resource Director. This is the first time I got up and spoke out of thing.
Long time.
After 18 years. Yeah,
It's about time.
it's about time.
You still
yeah.
only get 3 minutes.
I know. I've been using 15 seconds already. First of all, I wanted to get up and speak at the last budget meeting. I'm only going to say this now because I got to punch back in and finish payroll. So I'm off the clock right now. At the last meeting, when they talked about increases and whatnot, you guys put aside the office staff and talked about the police department first, which I love the police department. I'm married to one. Bill was here for 28 years. So they're near and dear to my heart. Most of our friends are police officers, in fact. But anyway, the office staff kind of got shoved back on the back burner, like always. Been here 18 years. There's always the police department first. Everyone else gets whatever's left over. When we first had COVID, I know I got 2 minutes left. Tracy was the town manager then. She said, Jean, we need to only keep essential personnel on staff. Everyone else needs to go home, not come into work, da da da. It's like, okay. So we sat down and tried to figure it out. I was new to human resources then too. And I told her, I said, well, are we keeping the phones on? Or are we, on night service, she said, we're keeping the phones on. Okay, so the front desk is essential. Are we shutting down permits? Are we doing anything? No, we're still doing that. Okay, so permitting is essential. That was Lisa's job and the other clerk. Are we stopping meetings? No. But the town clerk's position, deputy clerk's still position, is still essential. How about payroll, bank deposits, the bills that I pay? No, that's essential. Well, what about the pump stations and the generators? Are we going to stop doing that? No, that's essential. So public works is essential. So I think sometimes you guys think only the police department is essential, but without the rest of the staff, things don't work. The town doesn't look like it should be. Things don't get done in the office like it should be. So I think we're all essential. And also I got, this year so far, we have spent $21,000 in temp services because we had a major turnaround in staffing personnel. The year before that, we spent almost $12,000. If some of that money had gone to staff, maybe some people would still be here because we're overworked and underpaid, and that's it. So 18 years, I finally had my say, and I got 30 seconds left. So thank you, and I'll go back to work.
Thank you, Jean. Any other public comment? Okay, moving on, we head to the approval of the consent agenda. Make motion?
I'll make the motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion and second, any other discussion? Public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carries. All right.
So can I interrupt you yet again?
Yes, you can.
Hate to be a champion of Carolyn here, but there's no way to enter her name. So if
She goes to the chat.
she's on the line listening, and when she went through the function, she couldn't alert you that it was her.
Why don't you just put it on your phone?
That's what I was gonna do.
By the time we get to, we'll be at the end of the meeting. and-
Right.
Couldn't she send a message? Doesn't she text you? Isn't there a chat button?
That's what I just said, if she sends me. a-
Hi.
All right, you're gonna be put underneath the microphone. Can you stick that on?
Okay, yeah, there's no way when you call in the number and enter the access code, there's no way to enter anything. It's a phone call.
All right, so you're on speaker. So we're,
Hi.
hey there.
Is
So
that going through that microphone to you guys? Yeah, I think you gotta move it close. Yeah, brilliant.
Oh. Thank you, Lynn.
You're welcome.
Now you're at your desk or your seat. All right, moving on to the public hearing on the fiscal year 24 budget. Lynn?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. What you have in front of you is the budget, following our last budget workshop in August. You asked me to provide you for today's final decision, a couple of different options. What it comes down to is at 5.5 mils, with the current planned expenditures, we will have $20,520.27 of revenue in excess of revenues, or revenues in excess of expenditures. If we were to go with the rollback rate, which is 4.8919, I think of what it is, it brings our revenue over expenditures to a negative $878,285. The commission could choose at that point to either reduce items in the budget or use cash from our cash reserves for that. I was also asked to provide at 5.25. The shortfall of revenue over expenditures at that point is $350,724.38. I've also provided you with additional breakdowns at every 5 or 0.05 amounts so that you can see what any change between 5.25 and 5.5 does, and what it does to our anticipated unaudited fund balances. The audited fund balance at the end of 2021, so fiscal year 21, was $6,789, or $6,789,381. The unaudited fund balance that we are looking at as the end of FY22 is $5,778,327. That is a 17.5% reduction of our fund reserves, cash balance, fund reserves, fund balance, from FY21 to FY22. And that was because we budgeted the use of $1,011,053.14. The unaudited, based on that, expenditures for FY23 that is just preparing to end, including our budgeted use of $189,148 of reserves, brings that fund balance to $5,589,179.86, another 3.3% reduction in our fund balance.
All right, so what is the anticipated surplus from?
Right now, we are anticipating at the end of this fiscal year to actually have a negative impact of negative 3.8 unaudited right now, based on what our approved expenditures were and what our actual revenues have been to date. The majority of our revenues have been collected. It's, this is based on a report that I ran today, which gets us to August 31st for revenue collection. We have 1 month left. The revenues that would be coming in this last month would primarily be FP&L, utility tax and franchise fees, building permits, and a few small miscellaneous revenues. So not anticipating seeing a dramatic increase in that what's considered to be the unaudited fund balance. So right now we are looking at ending the year having used 3.38% of our fund balance. To reduce the mill levy from 5.5 mils to anything lower is going to reduce that fund balance more. It's just a matter of how much we want to. How much of it do we want to go into?
Or we adjust expenses. I mean, I don't think the suggestion is that we want to be taking money out of reserves to balance the budget. That's what's been done in the past.
You are correct, Commissioner Cassidy, but we are also at the point, right now, we're at the tentative budget hearing. If we were going to have cut expenditures, it would have been appropriate for the commission to have given some input on where they wanted those cuts to be. I provided a list of not must-have essential options. They are not anything that I would actually say that I support as expenditure cuts in the FY24 budget, but based on whatever the commission chooses, those are the only items, and they do not come up to $878,000. At best, they come up to, eliminating everything that is not absolutely 100% either a fixed cost or something that, can't be put off any further than we already have. The most we could save is $427,532. That's if we cut out the APAR clerk. That's if we cut out the professional services NeoGov, which is the tracking and application software. That's if we reduce the budget in town functions and promos. That's if we eliminate the agenda software. That's if we eliminate the police department take-home car allowance. That's if we eliminate mosquito and no-see-um contract. That's if we eliminate the iguana control contract. That's if in the capital budget, we eliminate the ultraviolet air handlers, any funds appropriated for the town hall drain field, any funds appropriated for interior town hall maintenance, the fleet dispenser monitoring system, not the pumps themselves, but the monitoring system, the security doors and camera system for the entire property, and the PD dispatch battery backup.
All right. So when we discussed this, we were talking about our budget, that from last year's budget, we were going to probably see a surplus. How did that change from last week to today?
From Thursday.
So, we went through this thing over and over again, and we were anticipating at least $180,000 to $250,000 in a surplus from the budget from last year. Now, having said that, where are we at with the audit?
With the audit, the auditors on Friday, shortly before 5, sent Rick Hartley, our CPA, and I a 2-page list of things that they still want for the audit, that they say they haven't gotten. We knocked out over half of those today, and I reached out to them today and said, for some of these, you're going to have to come on site. We expect to see you this week. We're proposing Thursday for that, so that the audit can be presented no later than the next public hearing on the 18th.
Something here doesn't make sense, okay? In the memo that accompanies this, it says that at a 5.5 mill rate, which is the mill rate as voted by the town commission for the current budget, the FY24 utilizes, let's round the numbers, 1.1 in capital reserves. It's not really reserves. It's 1.1 in money that was scheduled to be spent, that wasn't spent, but the projects still need to be done. So we actually have 1.6 in those project reserves, if you will, the project things. So we actually have 400,000 more than we need. And somehow or other, since Thursday, we've gone from 400,000 over to 700,000 under.
Again, no, the 700,000 under is if we cut the budget. The 400,000 over is still just an estimate. We can't, until we know exactly how FY22 ended, and that there's not any
These are
encumbrances.
FY23 projects.
Yes.
We know we didn't do those projects because we're in the middle of September and it ends September 30th. So we have all that money.
As long as our revenues have met all of our projections. I can tell you right now, the building department revenues have not met their projections by a significant shortfall. Like $250,000 to $300,000 shortfall from their anticipated revenues. That impacts that significantly in our total overall budgeted revenues for the year.
I agree with
Bill?
Steve. Something just sounds off. I mean, if we had a good idea last week, we were coming in at a surplus, like Jeff just said, and now we're hearing that we're not. What happened in this last week?
Nothing happened, and it wasn't just last week. You also have to keep in mind, at the last meeting, you then gave significant salary increases to the PD, which then goes to the bottom line, which eats away at our being able to balance that way.
Well, it's funny, Lynn, because if you look at now the latest budget that you presented to us in this packet, the salary line for the police department is only up 1% over
No.
fiscal year 23.
Right, but that was because she didn't have the new one-time adjustments for the 23 budget. She didn't have the revised budget. She had the original budget in there, and that's when it said like an 18% increase. So she didn't have the cars in and all the other stuff that you got. I think you gave like a 7,000 bonus. So none of that was in the base because that was a one-time shot.
But that's 2023.
And it's
Correct, but now it's only saying in this budget, it only went up 2% because it did only go up 2%.
Well-
Because the one-time shot is now put as a continuous adjustment. You know what I'm saying? You continued the car allowance and all that kind of
And
stuff.
as I explained, Carolyn, in the email to you this afternoon, the number that's under the proposed FY22 was incorrect, as I stated, because it was pulling from the wrong cell. It's pulling from the amount, that 1.769442 is pulling from the column that is after the one-time adjustments on 10.2 for the PD. I thought that was pretty clear in what I sent to you. I even sent you, the explanations.
I received it. Thank you. I received it. It's not exactly clear, but I feel like we need to have a frank, objective discussion about what we're considering here. Instead of, we know that you were not happy with the way that the commission voted last time, but we have to be all on the same page here. Okay?
And we are all on the same page, and I'm not saying that we're not happy. I'm saying that we need to decide, and we should have decided before this point, if we were cutting items out of this budget. This is our tentative hearing. Whatever we leave this meeting with tonight is what gets published for the September 18th final hearing.
As far as the mill rate goes.
No,
So-
as far as the
But
revenue,
all
the
this, what you just said,
expenditures.
I'm looking at it right here. You're saying under the current budget, we're gonna run how short, did you say?
189, 148.
It depends on
But
what you
that's
set the mill
ridiculous.
levy
Then why
at.
am I looking at a piece of paper that tells me we're gonna be 20,000 over? We have 20,000 surplus, and now you're telling me
At
further.
5.5 mils, we will be 20 over. Anything less, we will run negative into the fund balance.
I get that. Plus, we have the money coming back from last year that you now say we don't have. We did it
No,
at
I'm saying we may not have as
97.5.
much as we thought because some
But
of
hang
our
on.
revenue
We did it at
funds.
97.
If we don't have as much as we thought, then how much is that? But we thought it was 200,000. You say now it's negative 189, 148? Because I agree with Steve on this. I mean,
We specifically lowered it to 97.5% collection rate. And
If
we've
you look
always
at-
exceeded that. Are you telling me in this one fiscal 2023, I'm not talking 24, suddenly we've gone down from a 98.7 collection point. Historically, we've gone below 97.5%.
No.
No, we're at
Our
99%
We're
our-
at 99.
Our
We're
revenues,
99 right
our
now.
ad valorem taxes are not the only revenues.
Right, the
We-
building department, we get it.
Well, we have
Not
to
just
add,
the
we have
And
building
you
to,
also have
department, you've got
expenses, the expenses might-
Intergovernmental, you've got charges for services, fines and forfeitures.
But that's how we said, you said that the collection of the taxes,
No,
Could
I
not match
said
what we thought it
our
was.
revenue is not what we thought it was. The
Okay.
taxes are
That might be
almost, or
Yeah, it
they're
was the
at
permits, it was the
98.9
permits.
as of the July report.
Yeah,
But
and
if
I-
you'll notice, the building department revenues were only at 58.0%.
Mhm.
That is 40% lower, and it didn't magically get larger by finishing August. We may collect, maybe at 650 to 750,000 on that line item, but we had budgeted to bring in 905,000. So when you look at your total
Mhm.
revenue,
I get it now.
that's where our major shortfall is.
Yeah, the other thing too is, where did you get the 170,000 as a surplus? Because when I left the meeting, I thought, when I did the math, I thought we were going to be about even. Because remember that accountant that was 51,000 that we went through? That was really 87 with the fringe benefits and all that kind of stuff. So that had to be taken out of the 170. And then I thought we also, at the end, gave the office staff additional dollars that wasn't in the original budget. Is that correct? In the- yeah, the last budget.
15,000 split between all of them.
Right. How much was it?
15,000
Okay,
total.
so
for
that
one
makes
time.
like 100 grand off the 170, right?
Yep.
And then we're at 20 plus, so we got a 50,000 gap, which I can't remember what we changed back then, but, so I think it is pretty close. I don't think there's any major
Okay.
changes.
I'm still a little confused in this budget use of reserves of the 189, 148 for the unaudited 22, 23. So the minus 338, but then if we collect for this year's budget coming up, we're going to be 20,000 plus.
Oh, you're over here?
Yeah. So, and then if we lower the millage rate to 5.45, that means we have to take $53,736.66 to balance the budget out of reserve. So is that now you're telling me that 53 would be added to the 189, 148?
No, the 189 is 22, 23, the fiscal year that we're just ending now.
Right, but that's what you're saying. So you're saying, what you're saying then, the fiscal year we're just ending now, that you're saying that we're in arrears for that year, 189, 148.
No, that's what you
No, we
budgeted
put
to.
in.
You
That's what we put
budgeted.
in.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
you
we're putting
budgeted
in
to use
another
that.
million now.
Yeah.
If you look at what we started to do with the infrastructure, in 2018, we spent less than 200 grand. 19, we spent 200 grand less. And then in 2021, we spent 500 and 400.
Yeah, but now we're doing 1.5 million. That's what we have in projects right now, $1.5 million.
Right.
And we haven't done anything with in
That
3 years.
189, if you look at the FY '23 budget, it will show you that we were balancing for '23 using $8,698 balancing line reserves from the regular fund balance, $26,892 as a balancing line from the building department, and you were anticipating to be at a negative $153,558. That is the budget that was approved last year, which equals 189, 148. That's where that number comes from last year's approved budget, using balancing line items and expenditures over revenues of 153,000.
So traditionally, this is why it's kind of like blindsiding us. Traditionally, we always have money at the end of the year that goes to reserves. So I was looking.
We usually budget a negative number and then it ends up being a positive.
Right, but
Because you're
and some-
conservative.
But sometimes we
97.
also put a reserve number in to make the budget zero out, knowing that at the end of the year, we're gonna get it. So this is the first time I've ever heard that somehow or other in 2023, we have negative money impacting us.
No, that's what that 189 that you
Right,
budgeted for.
that's a negative,
Yes, and that's what you budgeted for last year.
but it comes back, traditionally, it comes back at the end of, let's say, October 1.
And
Done with the
it
expenses,
potentially.
we have this
could.
leftover money. In this case, we have 1.5 million left over that hasn't been used on projects.
Yeah, and potentially.
But it's still
could,
budget,
but-
Right,
it's
but-
still in
I
our
got you, I
budget
got you.
numbers.
That's why this fund balance number is an unaudited number. It's not a hard number because we don't know how much. We've also had expenses this year that were unplanned for. There was the city manager search expenditure. There were projects from last year that were carried over that weren't encumbered, like the public works garage that was approved. Those are expenditures that were this year. You know,
But they were taxed, but people were taxed for that. That was part of the budget last year, correct?
no, the public works garage was
there's a lot.
approved mid-year.
There's a lot of extra money we spent this year on public works projects that were not in last year's budget.
They weren't in FY '22.
Well,
But
also
they
the
were-
We had
one-time
spent-
shop for the
But they
police
were-
department, right?
Right.
Well, no, just the garage,
And keeping in
was
mind,
40 or 50,000.
Mhm.
So
there were projects approved.
we had air conditioners that went this year that we didn't budget for. There was a lot of different things that happened this year we had to spend a lot of money on. But getting back to original points, I don't want to make it sound like, and you're making it sound like last year's budget that we did, we planned on spending or having a negative amount. We did not. Because what happens is every single year, except for 1 year, and it was 2009 or 2010, that we had a negative balance after the years, all the taxes after the audited balance.
Right.
One time.
And
One time in 18 years I've been up here once. So there's no way that it's going to be this negative number again. So it's not happening, just the way that we budget and how conservative we usually are. Now, having said all that, I understand that we did spend extra money and we took it out of, every time we took it out of where?
Took it out of contingency.
Contingency, that's correct. So that
Which
brings
was
down
there.
our general fund balance. Okay, which in turn, why this number is showing up at 189. Okay, so
Now, it may end up being that there is still money that wasn't spent. But as I said, like with the building department, not all of our revenues have met their projections.
I'm good with that. But what I guess I'm trying to yank out of you is that what is, I know right now we don't have the audit because of, Ron had COVID and everything else has been happening. So,
Right,
but
FY
wait, but there, in all this calculation, there has to be a number that we know that, hey, this is going to be close to what the number is that we're going to get back from our last year's budget. So when you give us a hint, is it going to be, you're telling me it's a negative 189 because you have no idea what's coming? You got to have some idea what's going to be
Should Ron
coming.
have some idea of that? Has anyone asked him that specific question?
He's doing 22.
He's doing 22, not 23. The unaudited numbers are pretty stable. That's based on our trial balance at the end of FY '22. So that $5,778,327.86 is a pretty solid number. Now, when you look at, that's my capital divider.
Well, if you look at, if we had 5.5 mils and we take into account all that revenue and we leave it at 5.5 mils with all the capital project funds, with all that stuff we left in there, and with all the stuff we've already paid out to the police department and the town staff, all that all together, we're at a plus $20,520.27.
I believe, in all honesty, because of the capital projects we have not done and the transfers that have not happened to capital, it will most likely be an $800,000 to $900,000 positive to the bottom line.
Repeat that, please,
And
because I'm getting lost.
Okay,
Yeah.
with the capital projects, that are being carried over from FY '23
Yeah.
to '24 that have not yet been encumbered, so they're not going to go against the fund balance or the revenues from this year. They're carrying over. I believe that we will have 800 to 900,000 that was budgeted for those projects that have not been encumbered. That's the Harbor Drive drainage project. That is the, just have them. Ocean Avenue sidewalk pavers, the street lights.
What do you have budgeted for streetlights?
For streetlights, the 125 that was for FY '22 is staying for FY '20.
So it's
Sure.
not being used in '22, and it's being used in '23, so it doesn't increase the budget at all. Because we already had the money.
Right, well,
See, this is what's confusing me.
But
What was
the-
our budget, the FY '23 total budget number?
For capital or?
No, the total number.
for expenditures and revenue,
No, just how much money expenditures that we budget?
you budgeted $10,240,770.
All right, I'm just going to 10,240, okay? What are we budgeted this year?
We're budgeted 11,003,132.
11 million.
Okay, so it's an additional 700,000. So how do we suddenly have property prices go up, what, 12%, 16%? We budget an additional 700,000 for this year. And we're gonna be down 189 to start the year. It makes
Because,
no sense.
Well, the 189 is 2023,
Correct.
okay? But you're saying
But-
that's what we're
but-
down? Like, how
No,
does that affect
but
the?
we budgeted 10,240. Now we're budgeting 11,000, right?
Mhm.
So what's that?
it's
760.
7.44%.
Right? So we raised it 760. Meanwhile, property values in town have gone up 16%. What was the total billions of dollars of property in town? Where's my, oh, you have to use your phone to calculate this, because my phone's used. You see what I'm getting at? Something's not right.
I see what you're getting at, and as
What was the billion figures? Anybody remember?
Well, yeah, aren't you just showing that the unaudited 22, 23 is, that's what brought the fund balance down to 189? That's all that's showing. So
Yes.
FY '24, with the budget we're talking about now, our expenditures are $11 million. And of that $11 million, there's $1.5 million we have not put toward anything. It's for Public Works. But of that, those three items you spoke about are 400,000 lights and what is it, pavers for what?
no, the Ocean Avenue Street paver project, in case we need to do anything there again after all the changes. And the number you're looking for, Steve, is.
I have it. Phil,
okay.
can you do this on your calculator?
Well, I got the,
1.355 billion, okay, times, what are we, 12%?
yeah, I got the number. That's what I was looking. I need a magnifier. It's so small, but all right, you want to.
1.355 billion times
Get the
12%.
calculator out now.
We know it's gotta be at least 100, a million.
Go ahead, say it again.
Yeah.
1.355 billion.
Well, okay, it's not 1 point. Okay, it's
Well,
1.355. Go ahead.
Times 12%.
No, add zeros. Times 12%.
Million two.
No, wait a second. You're not getting 12%. Well, go ahead.
The prices went up from,
Okay, that gets to 16, 1.1620.
right, see what I'm getting at? See,
All
as
right,
a,
now you want to multiply that by the 0.055? Is that what
it's
you want?
a 13% increase over last year, right? And we're still going up. There's something that doesn't make sense here. Does
So last year, our taxes that we collected,
Mhm.
I gotta get to the right one,
See, this year
taxes
is
broken
separate.
down into more.
That should be separated from that.
We collected last year in ad valorem taxes alone, just ad valorem taxes. $7,285,550. At 5.5 mils, which is the 2.6 property value increase, our ad valorem taxes right now would be $8,168,262,
So $1 million increase.
roughly, yes.
Yeah, 883.
So you see why I'm having a problem here. We have extra $1 million.
And we're spending that on capital projects.
So.
Our
but then-
capital project budget is larger this year than it has been any other year.
It can't be $1 million larger.
Well,
But wait a minute,
Well, it's $1.5 million.
are we getting lost with this? We budgeted $750,000 for Hudson. We have to have that budgeted in order for us to collect half the money from the state. And if we don't collect
No,
the money
because
from the
those
state,
monies-
we're not gonna do it.
Well, we're budgeting expenditures, but we're only budgeting half of that expenditure.
We did not budget, I thought we had to budget the entire amount in order to attract the
That-
state money. And that's what we did,
What you have to budget for the project.
right?
The total project will be $750,000. We are in this budget showing our allocation, which is 50% of that at $375,000.
What's the second one that was like that? It was
The
two.
other one is the Hudson, I think it's the Hudson Avenue seawall.
Mhm.
So we had,
But if I remember correctly, I do remember actually, if we don't get the money, we weren't gonna spend it. We weren't gonna
Correct.
spend it.
but putting
questioning-
it into perspective, in FY '23, the town budgeted to spend $1.865 million on capital projects.
Mhm.
This budget includes all the carryover projects because that money still has to be accounted for in the budget. But that revenue, that's why we're using capital fund balance, is a $3.148 million capital budget.
Something doesn't make sense there. It just doesn't. You're telling me we budgeted an extra 1.5 million in capital expenditures this year versus last? Lynn, I gotta tell you.
Because we're carrying over $1 million of those. But we still have
Right,
to
we
budget for them.
we actually
have
have
not-
the 1.5,
Right,
in
we have not,
carryover.
but we have
So-
not encumbered them.
so. I'm lost again. I'm not an accountant,
Lynn,
this
with
makes
the-
no
with the
sense.
capital projects, the 1.5, what were those funds collected in ad valorem taxes?
Last year, we would have been a transfer of 931,000 in revenues, which would have included ad valorem.
Okay, but just explain, I mean, just to keep it simple, with the capital fund, the
Yes.
capital projects,
Yes,
when we
that,
are actually doing a project, that's when we transfer between capital fund and the general fund, correct?
no, that's what we've done in the past, but that is not the proper way to do it. You are supposed to, if you budget to spend that, transfer it into capital reserve so it then becomes restricted for that project, so that you don't have to tax for it again.
Okay, if that's something new to Ocean Ridge, then it's new to all of us.
Well, past practice has been to budget, not make the transfers, except for the projects that are done, which is why we've been able to put money into cash reserves or balance against unexpended expenditures. And then our capital fund balance is less than it's supposed to be because we have significant capital projects that we carry over, like the Hudson, or like the Harbor Drive Drainage Project, which is a $250,000 project that we never carried over the funds for. We just put that fund into general operating and either kept it for emergency cash or spent it based on whether we needed to borrow against that fund balance.
But
Last year in FY '22, we spent 1.5 million of that fund balance on the Priest property, which significantly reduced the funds that were in our general fund cash reserves, fund balance.
Right,
And
okay,
then
I get
you-
you. Let me just say one thing different. You're approaching this from a different aspect. We've had the same auditor for 25 years, 20 years, and he had no problems. And now suddenly we have problems with what we're giving him now.
We don't have
And
problems
what
with
you're
what
saying,
we're-
the system we were using was improper. Well, how come the accountant didn't say this for 20 odd years? And now suddenly you're changing the system, and I'm lost, and I cannot believe these numbers I'm being told.
And not changing the system, I'm budgeting properly. The auditor is not having a problem with the numbers and the things that we're giving him.
All right, so let's get back to down here. So what I'm gleaning from all this, let's just go back to the budget. Let's forget about the fund balance, because if you look at the fund balance at 21-22, it was reduced by $1 million for the land purchase we bought. You look at the fund balance for 22-23, we reduced the 189 from all the projects we did during the year that were not in the budget, okay? Two different things. You see what I'm saying? What happened is your budget is X dollars, right? Your fund balance is X dollars. So what happened is when we were doing these projects this past year, the 60,000, whatever it was for building the shed, all that was, we took it out of the contingency, which is the fund balance, right? So that's what that negative 189 is. That's what we took out of the contingency that was not in the budget from that year.
But it
Well,
is
the
a
contingency was in the budget.
Right.
But.
But it
Not
was what I'm saying is that the
Right.
money in there was on it. So, moving on from that, so the budget from last year, what surplus money do you have any anticipation of what would happen for this coming up, this budget coming up? Because last year we had the same freak out, everybody's freaking out, and all of a sudden we ended up with the last meeting, or the second to last meeting, came up with a budget amount, it was like $225,000 that we were getting over what our expenses were. So that's what we budgeted for, and that's what we had the ad valorem taxes for.
Right.
However, looking at what we have now, our revenue over expenditures actually is going to be plus 20,000 if we leave it at 5.5. If we go down to 5.45, there's anyway, you can make that bigger, because I know if I'm out there, I can't read that thing.
Can you?
At 5.45, it's 53,000 we're in the hole, okay? And going down 127, going down 202, but this is what we're in the hole for that particular budget that we're talking about,
Correct,
not the fund balance,
correct.
okay? So what is the anticipated shortfall or surplus? And I believe it's going to be definitely a surplus, because I'm not looking at the fund balance.
Surplus will be about 800 to 900,000.
Right, but
because
of
the
that
capital
800,
projects
and
that
that's
we have
my
done.
original question we started this whole hour out with. So at $800,000, and if we take out the projects that we put in, the 400 here, the whatever it was, again, what would be that, by the time we're done, it's about what, 250?
Yes,
Okay, so we have a surplus now of $250,000 that we anticipate that's coming back into our coffers, right?
correct.
Okay. If that's the case, then to balance the budget, and I went to say 5.40, I would need $127,000, $993.59, right?
Of the 250. Of the 250.
Of the 250. If I went to 5.35, it's $202,250. I know I have 250 sitting in my little kitty over here I can use for this.
Correct.
I can literally say, well, I got 250 or whatever the heck it is. I can go down because I know I'm getting this money back. Not talking about the fund balance, because we already know we took the money out of the fund balance. Does it reduce the fund balance? The fund balance is like our main savings account.
Correct.
Okay, that's what it's all about. So we know we're getting 250 back. We're anticipating 180 to 250. So at this point, what would you want to do your millage rate at? So you know that you have enough money, say 200, if you wanted to make it a blanket statement, 200,000.
Anticipating 250,000 of unencumbered rollover that
That,
is not showing up right now.
correct. So
You
to be
could
conservative,
do a 5.35 mill rate. Anticipate taking that 202 out of cash reserves.
Right.
That budgeting line, and still have a balanced budget.
right, because then we take it out of the reserves, and once it comes back, you put it back in.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay,
So
that's
it's
the way
not
we've been
really
doing it
taking
for.
money from reserves.
So that's
It's
simple.
taking money from the surplus.
Does.
I know. So, okay, so there's where we're at. So back to, man,
The original question.
the original question. So the millage rate. What would you guys like to do with it? So to be conservative, if it's 225 or whatever, you know, you say it's around 180 or 200,000, then at 5.35, you've got the money there, 202,250. You can lower your tax rate. You know you've increased your ad valorem taxes by at least 10%. You know that's going to increase. It's going to increase again, or it has increased, or it's going to stay stable for the upcoming year. I mean, you're betting on that, or not betting. I should say that's not the right word, but that way you've reduced your taxes. You have all the projects are in that budget is bloated with a lot of money in projects that you may or may not spend. So that's where your decision is.
So Christie, the three of us have to agree on a mill, because we're the only three that can vote. It can't be the 2-1, it has to be a 3.
For anything above the rollback rate, yes.
No, I'm asking Christie. You see what I'm saying? We only have, our quorum is 3 people.
Right.
Can a vote go 2-1 and carry?
No, by charter, it has to be at least 3.
So we have to agree on this. Okay, I differ from you guys. I see where you're heading. I take great concern over the amount of money we spent on the priest land, which reduced our reserve.
Yeah, and 1,011,000,
Right. That's a lot.
$53.14.
So I'm a fan of going to the 5.5, even if it's a 20 surplus, because we need to rebuild back $1 million. I know that we have a pretty healthy reserve fund, but I think we want to be in a position to spend down the road. We might have something else we need to purchase as a large item.
Yeah, but Steve, that
You
is,
can't vote.
that's raising taxes significantly. Keeping the millage rate the same raises taxes significantly. And you know, we are working on a grant to get 50% of that priest money back.
Yes.
Well, when you say it raises taxes, if you look at who's homesteaded, it's 3%, right? If you're
Right.
homesteaded, you're 3%. If you have a second home, or you're an investor, or you weren't homesteaded and now you went homesteaded, you could go over the 10%. But if you're, well, I'm sorry, investor, second home gets 10%. If you end up wanting to be homesteaded, which you'll get a benefit in the future, you kind of get stuck the first year because you go up to a new appraised value. Also, if you put an addition, any improvements, you come in, you're a new person. So, somebody had a house at $1 million, it got 3% a year, it ended up 2 million, you go and pay them 4 million. That's where that big tax increase took place. It wasn't really the homesteaded resident.
Oh,
no.
Okay. So, but I just wanted to explain that. But the issue I have is, do we really know all the problems we have? We have to do an analysis of all our piping, right? Lynn, that's the law, right? It has to be done this year. So I don't disagree with lowering taxes, but I think it's just 1 year too premature. If we've got to redo our pipes throughout the town, that's pretty expensive. You also we've got to start putting money away for the septic to sewer. It's going to happen. It might not happen till 10 years, but it's sort of like a retirement plan. Do you want to start putting your money away when you're 50 years old, or is it better to put it away when you're 30 years old? So Yeah, nobody's
Well,
wrong
you
or
know,
right here. You know what I'm saying?
No one wants to.
Even if you took,
Not
come
lower
on, guys, even if you went I mean, the tax money had been rolling in pretty good, Ocean Ridge in the last few years.
Yeah.
So even if you said, hey, look, even just for, for the, how this looks, if you even took it down to 5.45, you're spending $33,000. I mean, think of it this way, it's 20,000 at 5.5, it's 53 at 736. So in the whole scheme of things, okay, let's take off the iguanas. That's 40 grand. Okay, there's our 5.45. I mean, I understand you're saying about the savings, but it's nice every once in a while to look at your tax bill and say, hey, we went down. I mean, we've been
Well,
this.
the town's saving, but it's also justifying spending more money because you can. And I don't think that's right.
No, I agree with you. I mean, if we're spending more money than we should take that out of the budget. But, I thought we don't really know about the iguanas yet, right? Or do we know? that
Well, I
they're
think if you
not
put it this way,
doing their
you'll know
job?
after a year, you cut the thing off, you see what happens after a year. If
Yeah.
we're overrun and, it's Jurassic Park around here, yeah, then we'll get the,
Well,
get
certainly
the
at
iguanas
the
again.
next meeting, we 86 the iguanas, when we have all of us here.
That's fine.
So, since we have to agree, no one's everyone wants to lower taxes. And I think I said this last year when we had the 5.5, I said, we're gonna have to go through 2 to 3 years of this in order to have the money to deal with our infrastructure problems. So if, I'm at 5.5, not that I wanna raise taxes and spend everybody's money, I think it's necessary. But if you guys are lower than that, I would certainly join you because we have to have 3 of us.
So what are you saying? What number?
I would go no lower than 5.45.
What do you think?
Well, I'd like to hear your opinion, because,
No,
like I said, nobody's right or nobody's wrong.
Nobody's right or wrong. I mean, I
It's whether
think,
you
I
want
think it's a
to-
nice gesture to the town residents that tax break, iguanas, tax break, iguanas. Come on. So I mean, if you guys went 5.45, I mean, I had to go lower, but since I can understand, I kind of hear where you're coming from, I'm at 5.45 too.
What do you
I'm
at?
fine with 5.45. What's that?
That's-
Yeah, I'm fine with 5.
So we were talking about 5.35, 5.4, and now we're going to 5.45.
That's what it looks like.
Well, I don't get a vote because I'm not there, right?
But go ahead and
Well,
express
you can
yourself.
complain.
No, I mean, I was hoping for 5.35, and, given what we understand about the budget, that would work, but, 5.4, sorry, 5.4, I'd be okay. But if you guys-
All right, I'm fine with 5.4, because we're really talking about peanuts.
I know, that's what I'm trying to tell you. It really comes down to like nickels and dimes at this point. So
It's whether we have it in a savings account or in a checking
Yeah.
account.
you're good with 5.4?
I'm fine with it.
All right,
I'll go with 5.4.
5.4, there it is.
Already.
Do we have a shake on it?
Is that enough for the record, Christie? Okay.
You good with that, Carolyn?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I'll make the
I think
announcement.
I have to run right now, but, I'll listen to everything tomorrow.
Okay, tell us how we
Okay.
did.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thanks.
All right, so I guess we can make the announcement.
Now we need to make the announcement. And it'll be 10.32% above the rollback rate with a levy at 5.400.
Right, we actually should vote on that first, and should we not,
No,
Christie?
because we can't vote on it until we do the 2 resolutions that are
Okay.
D and E.
All right, so I'm going to announce the Town of Ocean Ridge computed millage rate is higher than the rollback rate of 4.8978 by,
10.32%.
what is it?
10.32, that's what your spreadsheet says.
10.32%. Actually, a spreadsheet and what's his name here is wrong, just so you know. Okay, your spreadsheet says mill rate of 4.8948, and your rollback rate on this, on here, on the Agenda shows 4.8978.
It is.
So which is it?
Millback is 4.8948.
So it's 4.8. So I'm going to change my announcement to 4.8948 by 10.32%. The millage to be levied is 5.40.
Zero.
Zero.
You have to do the 2 zeros.
Okay. Public comment. Public comment on the 5.40? If that's the same, anybody else?
I do have an emailed.
You do? Okay.
Okay, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, I apologize for not being there to present this information and request to you in person. I would like to begin by thanking you for the salary increases provided to all the police department members over the past year and a half and the proposed increases for October this year. These increases are greatly appreciated. I am hopeful these increases to the starting salaries of officers and dispatchers will assist in recruiting efforts. However, the goal of this letter is related to the retention of department members we already have. I know the maximum salary ranges were briefly mentioned during the last budget meeting, but the discussion quickly shifted to another topic and never returned. We currently have a few members of the department who have been with the department over 15 years and have reached the top of the salary range in their respective positions. We also have members who will reach the top of their salary range on October 1st or the next 10th annual evaluation. Most of these employees have reached the top out because the increases provided after salary ranges were adjusted. March of 2022 for sworn and August 2022 for non-sworn. Additionally, the maximum salary for the detective investigator position has not changed since 2019. Over the past year and a half, and including the increases proposed for October, the bottom of the salary ranges will have increased $12,500 for dispatch and $11,500 for police officers. Unfortunately, all the maximum salary limits have not been adjusted when the starting salaries are increased, which means the salary ranges have only condensed. I implore you to consider adjusting the maximum of the salary ranges to compensate for the increases at the bottom, thereby shifting the salary ranges instead of merely condensing them. An increase of $10,000 to the maximum of all police department salary ranges, sworn and non-sworn, may be a good starting point for consideration and discussions. This would demonstrate that the longevity and retention of current members is just as important as recruiting new members. We need the current members to know that they are appreciated as much as those members who have not been hired yet. Thank you for your time and consideration, Frederick Stang.
Is that it?
Who is it?
Frederick Stang.
Okay.
I would point out that the commission can still make changes to the salary ranges separate from the budget, as the salary ranges are not part of the overall budget package. So if that's something you would like to entertain in October, you can direct me to bring something like that forward.
All right, well, thank you for letting us know. Any other commissioner comments, public comment? All right, moving on to resolution number 2023-06, adoption of tentative millage rate for fiscal year 2023-24.
Resolution of the Town Commission of the Town of Ocean Ridge of Palm Beach County, Florida, adopting the tentative levying of ad valorem taxes for fiscal year 2023-2024, providing for an effective date.
All right. Resolution number 2023-07, adoption of tentative budget for fiscal year 2023-24.
Mr. Mayor, there are some blanks in section 1 of this that need to be filled in. Under the first, whereas the gross taxable value for operating purposes is $1,523,219,072. That's the gross taxable value.
Wow.
Under section 1, the mill rate will be 5.400, which is greater than the rolled back rate of 4.8948 mils by 10.32%.
Okay. Moving on to F. Announce the second final hearing on the FY 2023-24 budget.
You have to vote on the resolution.
So I make a motion, we approve resolution number 2023-07.
06.
We're going to do the first one first. 06 one, because we
Oh,
skipped
I
it.
missed it. I flipped.
It's
Make a motion, we approve resolution number 2023-06.
I'll second it.
Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next,
It was adopted at 7:14 PM.
Bill?
Oh, okay, I'm on number 07, right?
Yeah.
I'll make the motion to approve resolution number 2023-07.
I second it.
Motion and second.
And again, on this one, under the first whereas, the budget for fiscal 23-24 is in the amount of $11,003,132.
Phew. All right.
Adopted at 7:15 PM.
I haven't voted yet.
I thought you did.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. Now we can do the announcement, all right? Announce the second final hearing on the fiscal year 2023-24 budget will be held at 6 PM on Monday, September 18th. That's it for the budget. Now we're on a regular commission meeting and agenda.
Item 5.
Are you done reading that novel you got going over there, Chrissy? It's your turn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On 6273 North Ocean Boulevard, I've been in communication with Stanley Price, their attorney. They just found out today that FPL has issued their permit to get the extended line under North Ocean Boulevard to their property. They have scheduled for the middle part of this month the jack and bore for the permit they received on the water line. They're going to be coordinating with FPL to hopefully just do one jack and bore so that they can do them both together. If that's possible, they anticipate that the project will be fully completed December 31st.
Which project? The electricity?
The entire construction project with a final CO by December 31st of 2023. What we have discussed is if that doesn't happen, what they have committed to and which we will finalize in writing is if they don't have a CO and complete construction December 31st of 2023, the owner will make a voluntary contribution, a payment in lieu of taxes without any strings attached of $50,000 to the town to represent a payment towards the taxes that the town will miss out on for the 2023 calendar year taxes. I'm sorry, yes, the 2023 calendar year taxes that will be missed. If that would give them through the February 15th date of 2024 that was discussed when the attorney was present to complete the project. If after February 15th of 2024, the project is not completed, then they will incur liquidated damages of $5,000 per day, up to a maximum of $150,000 until the project is completed.
They agreed?
They agreed to that. Now, this is subject obviously to the force majeure event provision, which requires that these extensions be due to something that they can control. If it's outside their reasonable control, which, they claim the utilities were, that then these provisions wouldn't apply. However, I would say except for the contribution of $50,000, because that they have agreed to if this gets extended into calendar year 2024. So if you're good with those basic outlines of terms, if you can vote on that, then we will commit it to writing and have the town manager sign off. So that's committed to writing, but hopefully they get done this calendar year and the project's complete.
Now, are we setting precedent, though, that this is, that falls under that category? Because I think it was just their screw up, to be honest with you. I mean, it took them 8 years.
Correct.
8 years. That had nothing to do with FP&L and all that, if they had got done a normal process. So what I'm saying is that a problem now? Because if somebody else does the same thing, we've now said that falls into that category, so it's not their fault.
Well, no, because going back for this property, the original agreement we entered to have the project completed as of July 6th of this year was by written agreement of the parties. If someone now runs up against the 2-year local duration for the completion of construction, they could also approach the town about potentially some type of agreement to go past the current extension, which I do believe we actually recently loosened it a little bit
6
further
months.
because of supply chain issues and construction delays. We would have to entertain another agreement with that construction project to then consider on a project-by-project basis how long to extend the agreement. The agreement entered with 6273 North Ocean, from what they have represented to me and represented when they were in front of the commission previously, was that it was their understanding that they weren't going to have to jack and bore for both the water and the electric, and that they just found out about that in April. And that is what has set them back. Now, the front facade was a different issue, because they were going to try to do the front facade without the, the windows. And when they realized that that was a code requirement, they have agreed to that, but that also pushed them past the time frame. So the force majeure really only applies to the utilities. But the goal is now to get this completely done by December of this calendar year.
Right, but we're saying that is a force majeure issue.
For the
Not-
utilities. Correct. Now,
Well, we should know that, right? Because, I mean, I don't believe it is.
and so the option is to say that we don't believe it was a force majeure event. In that case, they are well past the July 6th deadline. I can tell you with my conversations with them, then at that point, the town's option under the agreement, if we believe that the utilities are not a force majeure event, that we would be facing litigation with this property owner, because at that point, the town's option would be to draw from the letter of credit to demolish the structure.
Well, is there a way to protect us so that this doesn't happen again? What I'm saying is that we don't agree with that, but with your payment of $50,000, we'll accept this negotiated settlement. So that they've given us consideration, we're giving them consideration, but we're not saying it's a force majeure, so somebody else down the road can say the same thing. That's my
Well,
point.
Under our code, we have the local requirement that all construction must be completed within 2 years, which I said it's been extended a little bit because of recent issues. That's a local requirement. If that requirement doesn't get met, then we have to locally enforce that. In the past, what has happened is projects that have exceeded that amount come before the town commission and request an extension. With this particular project, there were years where they didn't ask for any extension and nobody brought the issue up. More recently, certainly when I became representing the town, the issue arose and we gave them several extensions. When they asked for the most recent extension to July 6th of this calendar year, that's when we say, no, we need this in writing and we need a letter of credit to really put the responsibility and burden on them to get this finally done. So we've been slowly ratcheting up the town's actions to enforce the local requirement. The Florida Building Code does not have the same local requirement for a deadline on the duration of construction. It is a local requirement. So I believe now you've got more of a process in place so that if someone is reaching close to that local duration of construction timeframe, that there's more things we can put in place. And certainly now we've got a draft agreement, should be, that be the desired course of action. The force majeure doesn't come into play except for, in this case, with this agreement, because, and that's what's going on in construction right now, because of supply chain issues and other issues, sometimes it's just out of the contractor's hands and they can't help a delay. what we're trying to make sure is that going forward, that if there's, for some reason, something falls through on 6273 with the FPL, not being able to do the Jack and Board at the same time, and it ends up extending into calendar year 2024, that the town gets some funds through this contribution of the property owner.
All right.
What happened to the November 15th? The facade had to be finished. Remember that part?
It should be done by them, but just to make
So
things
there's no penalty
simplistic,
if they-
there's no penalty because we were going back and forth on when they submitted their redesign for the front facade with no windows in it. We looked at it and we said no, and we had a little bit of a back and forth on it, and finally they consented to, okay, we gotta put the windows back in. So, but for simplicity, to just get it all done December 31st of this calendar year.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
By the way, we have $450,000. The 50 plus the 5,000 per day, did we just pluck that out of that?
They're talking about actually, he would actually make a payment. We wouldn't draw from the letter of credit. They would actually make a payment.
Right.
So if you're acceptable with those terms, then we will get it put in writing and have the town manager sign
Motion?
on
Do we need a motion?
Yeah.
it. Yes, please.
Take a motion, we accept the, what do we call it, the new agreement?
The terms to extend the construction deadline agreement.
Terms to accept the new, accept the terms to extend the construction agreement on 6273 North Ocean as presented at town meeting.
I'll second it.
Public comment? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Christine. All right. Approval of the second reading, ordinance 2020-03, and an ordinance of the Town of Ocean Ridge, Florida, amending its code of ordinance of Chapter 70 signs, Article 1 in general, by creating a new section entitled Beach Signs to establish reasonable time, place, and manner regulation for signs on beach property, providing the scope, intent, purpose, findings, severability, repeal of conflicting ordinances for other purposes, and an effective date.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for reading the title of the ordinance. This is for second reading. As you know, we've had this before the commission at several meetings. At the last meeting on first reading, in which there was one request to make a minor change to allow the signs that some property owners adjacent to the beach have a sign hanging across their dune crossover, and to allow those signs. So that language has been specifically added in, and in your agenda, it's highlighted. So that change has been made.
Great. Motion?
I'm fine with it.
Yeah. Make a motion, what is the number on it? Make a motion to approve ordinance number 2023-03.
I'll second it.
Public comment? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Yay, signed for ordinance. Told you it'd take that long. Okay. Staff and committee reports. Lynn, you don't have much?
I don't have much. Commissioner Cassidy and I both attended the Florida League of Cities conference in August, and I'm happy to announce that Commissioner Cassidy has been appointed to the Utilities Legislative Policy Committee, and I have been appointed to the Finance, Personnel, and Taxation Policy Committees. So we will be representing the town on those two committees and helping form the legislative agenda for municipalities statewide in those roles.
Who appointed you?
The president of the Florida League of Cities.
Oh, congratulations.
Congratulations.
We've been working with BSNA towards the new financial management software. At this point, they've done 2 preliminary extractions out of fund balance, and we are moving forward with that. It looks like it will be a smooth transition. They will be out in September for an on-site process meeting for 2 days, and then the final implementation is in early January. I'm also been meeting with our website hosting company on our website redesign. They are putting together a new site map based on input of things that we would like to see and information we would like to have easier to find on the website. And that is moving forward. We've got several birthdays in September. Michael Parkerson and Deborah Boyle and Jimmy Pylon, all from the PD, have birthdays in September. So if you all see them when they are on duty, make sure you take an opportunity to wish them a happy September birthday. Two things that are not in my written report. One of the things that's in the budget is a plan to do the water valve project and seek a legislative appropriation for 50% of that. And speaking with Senator Berman's office and Representative Casello's office, they both recommend that we get those appropriation forms in September, as that's when the committees start to meet. So I would like to hear from the commission and if possibly authorize me to move forward with working with the representative in the senator's office on completing and submitting the appropriation request for 24-25. The total amount would be $500,000 with the city contributing $250,000 and requesting a $250,000 appropriation from the state.
What's the application cost? Zero?
Zero.
So you need a consent, you need to give you consent on that?
Consent from you
I think
guys.
we have it. Phil?
All right.
Good
idea.
And then if you have been watching the weather today, you might have noticed that Tropical Storm Lee has formed in the Atlantic. There is the possibility that it may form into a high-level hurricane. Right now, they're not sure, but if it does, it would hit this side of Florida, and unless it curves out and goes back out to sea. So if necessary, we'll be keeping an eye on that. They're looking at it potentially making ground at its current speed sometime early next week. If it picks up speed, it would be possibly this weekend, and with the potential to be up to a Category 4 hurricane. So we will be monitoring that and keep you all up to date and make sure the residents are aware of what's going on with that. If anybody's got any questions or want to monitor it, you can follow it at the National Hurricane Center website, as well as I'm sure the news will be covering it.
Is that it?
That's it.
Thank you. Christie?
No report, thank you.
Thank you. Chief?
My report is included in your package. If you have any questions, please ask.
You get the dog thing in there?
We've revamped the way we're reporting the dog numbers, the way we had to
Betty
collect their
here?
information.
Betty still here? Yeah, Betty.
Yeah.
Chief's put dog numbers in his report now, so.
Well, they're in there, but they're not accurate. We have revamped how we're gonna report them because of the way officers did beach patrols and reported a dog, whether it be a medical dog or a dog that's in violation. So going forward, we'll have a better idea of the numbers that we come in contact with.
These dogs on the beach,
Yeah.
I never take my dog on the beach. Even though I fought hard, have that, keep that off the zone too. I do it by myself.
Thank you, Betty. Is that it?
I got one thing to
Go ahead.
ask. Remember we discussed Civic Ready after the lost tortoise incident?
Yep.
Did we ever come to a conclusion? Because I kind of like Civic Ready.
Me too.
The surveys all came back that everybody wants to keep things as they
As
are
is.
with the lost
Excellent.
pets information, so we'll not be
I'm good with
changing
that.
I just was thinking
I
that
like
with the
it.
hurricanes.
I like getting called a turtle person. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Meeting adjourned.
Good job.